This is the health and wellness session. So for us to be alive to do everything that we've been talking about for the last 2 days, everybody, you have to be in this session. The theme of the session is Dead Lawyers Don't Work, Embracing a Lifestyle of Health and Wellness. And we have a rich panel that will be discussing all our health issues, and a time to take a lot of questions from the audience. And I'll be introducing the panel now. Our session chair is Dr. Ladi Awoshika. Our session chair is Dr. Ladi Awoshika. He's on his way up to the stage. Dr. Awoshika is the chairman of Total Health Trust Limited, which he founded in 1997. Total Healthcare is the first incorporated group model HMO in Nigeria. Dr. Awoshika has served as a member of several committees of the Nigerian National Health Insurance Scheme. I was appointed to the governing council of the scheme in 2005 to 2008. Dr. Ladi Awoshika. The next panel member is Dr. Maimuna Kadiri. Dr. Maimuna Kadiri is the medical director and psychiatrist in chief of Pinnacle Medical Services Limited. Which is Nigeria's leading and foremost psychology and mental health clinic, prominent in the application of innovative clinical approaches in the management and treatment of a wide range of psychological, emotional, and behavioral related disorders. Dr. Maimuna Kadiri. Our next panelist is Dr. Adeyemi Johnson, founder and medical director of First Cardiology Consultants. Dr. Johnson has over 25 years experience as a cardiologist and is highly regarded as an expert in interventional cardiology. Within this specialist field, he has held previous positions. Dr. Adeyemi Johnson. Our next panelist is Cherise Ijewere, nutrition consultant and CEO of Caribbean Health and Nutrition. She's a professional consultant in the field of nutrition. She holds a bachelor's degree in communication and nutrition from the University of South Florida. She has written several health columns for these day newspapers, Guardian Life, and magazines, including TW Women Leader, Parenting Magazine, to name a few. Mrs. Cherise Ijewere. Our last panelist, but certainly not the least, is Mr. Osaro Ehobamen SAN, co-founder of Peshton and Grades Law Firm. Mr. Osaro Ehobamen has extensive experience in both arbitration and litigation. Mr. Osaro Ehobamen SAN. This promises to be a very interactive session, and it concerns our health and wellness. We'll have enough time for you to ask a lot of questions. We'll prefer questions are directed to the panelists, and I hope it will be an interactive session from the audience. Thank you.
Good afternoon, distinguished learned audience, co-panelists, and spectators. This is the most auspicious time to actually understand some key issues about health and wellness, and to spread the knowledge and importance of preventive health care. In our environment, the young people don't think too much about healthcare, but as we get older, we start understanding the importance of staying healthy. Health and wellness is all about being active and being deliberate. The definition of wellness itself is the quality or state of being healthy physically, mentally, and spiritually. Even the WHO, World Health Organization, declares that health is a state of physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of health. The important thing about wellness and lifestyle education is that it has to be deliberate. It's not something you just wait until there's an illness or something happens to keep us healthy. It's deliberate. Maintaining optimal level of wellness is absolutely crucial to live a higher quality of life. We know that in our environment, the quality of life is not that high, although it seems that it's highest amongst those practicing business law. But nonetheless, we still have to strive to ensure that we stay healthy, and there are many things that we can do now to keep us healthy. Even when we get unhealthy, we develop illnesses. Fortunately, the world has moved on, and there are now many ways to ameliorate those situations to maintain that we have good health and that we can live longer. There are many dimensions of wellness, and our panelists today are, specialists in many of those areas. It's important to know that wellness has occupational, spiritual, emotional, environmental, financial, physical, social, and intellectual components. All these components are interrelated, and the question is how we balance these aspects of wellness to the whole being of the body. In this environment these days, we are dealing with a lot of issues that are beyond our personal genetic makeup. These are issues that we cannot control, that affect our well-being. Issues of genetic, things we have inherited from our parents, our forefathers, that will determine whether we develop certain diseases. I am sure many of us have now heard about the genetic mapping that people can now go through, that can tell you that you are probably going to develop this, you're going to develop that, and you can now take steps to ensure that you don't fall a victim. There are also a lot of other things that are within our control. That is what we do. Are we reckless in the way we live? Do we drive recklessly on the road make us get involved in accidents? Do we smoke heavily? And smoking hasn't got anything to do with heavy or light. Smoking is smoking. Do we drink more than we should drink? Do we eat more than we should eat? These are lifestyle measures that we can deal with, that we can control ourselves. And then there are those issues that come up that either due to genetics or something else happens, we develop these illnesses? How are we able to cope? What support systems do we have in place to make us enjoy better health, or to make us go through those episodes in our lives in a better way? We have an expert here on nutrition who will be talking to us about what we eat. What we eat also has a lot to do with our health. What, how, where, how we procure those things, they are very important. And then there are those things that have to do with our sedentary nature. Do we always sit down? Do we go from, do we always use the intercom to call on our employees to bring one thing or the other? Do we move around in our offices? Do we wait until the next golf session during the weekend? No, we can always keep ourselves active physically. A lot of people do not keep themselves active physically, and this can lead to a lot of problems, as we find. The emotional part of it is also very important, and that's the spiritual, emotional aspect of wellness. Our expert here would let you know what we need to do to keep the right balance in these things. A lot of us go to church, we go to the mosques, we do those spiritual items, but how do we balance that in the interaction with our fellow workers, with our clients, and with the community in general? These are all aspects of wellness that we have to make a deliberate effort to address. On that note, that was just an introduction. We can talk about wellness and well-being for hours on end. I would now call on Dr. Yemi Johnson to give some insights from his activities.
So come back. This one is filled, it's filled. Yes, it's not filled. To meet it together. We'll sort it out.
No, sorry, I can't talk and sit down. Okay, we have 5 minutes each or something like that. I'm very interested in what my learned colleague is going to speak about on the health matter, so I'm very, very interested. Anyway, now let me see. Most of you here look like they just forced you to come to this session. Let me see. So let us get into who should listen to this. Who here is above the age of 35? Okay, 40. All right. Anybody here have any siblings, parents, any family member with diabetes? All right, so please stay put. Anybody with family members with hypertension? All right, there's no escapee here. All right. Anybody here lives a life free of stress? Okay, maybe the politicians. So now these are all the things that contribute to whether or not we stay alive. Now they said dead men don't talk. What did they say on the dead lawyers don't work? All right. Now I'm just going to talk about, we can't talk about the whole of medicine, but let me talk about the things that can be prevented. Now some of you know me, but I spent almost 30 years of my life in the US. This kind of lawyerish phone. When I tried to come back in the 1990s, I was told that, look, doctor, we don't have heart trouble in Nigeria, don't worry, you will be broke. Anyway, I came back. I'm not broke. I am not rich, but I'm not broke. 75% of the patients I see with heart attacks or strokes did not need to have come with a heart attack or stroke. They could have been prevented. And many of them, I dare say, are lawyers. So do not think the law protects you from bad living. It doesn't. This thing is made in China. Use this one. Oh, I should hold it here. Here. Okay. All right. Where was I? So, like I said, majority of the people I see, this for the stroke, the heart attack, could have been prevented. Now, I'll also touch briefly on some diseases that are not my specialty, but it's important for you to know. I'll talk about cancer. Now, many of you go for health screening in the US, India, UK, Nigeria, and other places. I'm not sure why you go. It's always interesting to me when I see somebody smoking a pack of cigarettes every day and then is coming to have a health check. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. It's just like riding an Okada, blindfold, one way on the Ikorodu road. It makes no sense. But they will go and spend the money on these health checks. Now, when you are screening for cancer, just remember, we cannot screen for everything. There are a few things we know how to screen for, and those are the things I'm going to tell you to note. Now, for women, breast cancer, cervical cancer, those can be screened for, and it is important you do the screening. Once you're above the age of 35 for women, go and see your gynecologist, get those screenings done as frequently as they say. Usually they say once a year. All right, it is critical. And now, those of you who are parents, who have children who are teenage, all those kids should get this new HPV vaccine. It prevents cervical cancer. It is a big deal. Some people have some funny qualms about it. There's no qualms. Let your kids have it. They're going to have sex. So you can't pretend that they're going to be virgins all their life. It's not going to happen. They are going to have sex, and you might as well protect them. It's very, very important. So that vaccination is important. Now, for men, prostate cancer is very common in Nigeria. It is a very common cancer. And there is a good screening test called PSA. It is important. Once you're above the age of 40, check your PSA every year. Now, I have some close friends who check every week. It's not necessary. Once a year is enough. Once a year is enough. Just like I have some people come for HIV testing every other week. I say, okay, what is your lifestyle that is so complicated? But, you know, so check your PSA regularly. Now, the other cancers that is important to know about is colorectal cancer. That's cancer of the colon. It can be screened for, and you need a colonoscopy to do that. Once you're above the age, in the US they say 50. In Nigeria, it happens to us earlier. So from 45 years old, you should have the screening. You go for a colonoscopy. They put a tube up your behind, look into your colon. If they say a polyp, that's where cancer starts from. All they do is take it out right there and then. It's not surgery. They take it out, send it to the lab. If there's cancer in it, they tell you come every 2 years. If there's no cancer, they tell you come back in 10 years. All right, but this is an important test. It is a very, very preventable cancer. All right, those are the screening things I want you to be aware of. They are very important. This total body CT scan or total body MRI is of no value, other than exposes you to more radiation and gives us more money. All right. Now, my own specialty is cardiology. So heart strokes. Okay, so heart attacks and strokes. Now, like I said, 70% of my patients, it is preventable. The most common cause of a stroke in Nigeria is young men not taking their blood pressure medications because it affects their sex performance. That is number one cause. And true, some of these drugs do have side effects. It is important you communicate with your doctor if you have this side effect. There are over 1,000 drugs. We will find one that works. Because after you have the stroke, the sex you are interested in, it's not going to happen. So it's critical, please, take your medicines. And then heart attacks, we shall discuss that in more detail when we have the question and answer. But like I said, most of these things are preventable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yemi. How many men here are above 60? You see, in business law, they've retired. They are on the beaches. How many are above 55? Okay, interestingly, you know, when we talk about health and wellness, we look at men and think they only suffer from certain things, and look at women and think they only suffer from certain things. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about menopause. How many people have heard about menopause? In older women? Very good. How many people have heard about menopause? Or andropause? Very good. Now, these are things that sort of creep in on us and we don't understand what's going on. You see your older colleague starting to get irritable, depressed, not really happy, and really having some relationship problems. And yet, we think, well, it's not any problem. But these days, just like menopause, men also go through andropause. And it's just about awareness. And it's not about not claiming it or claiming it. It would creep in on us one way or the other. The only way we think about it is when there is a problem with the libido. And sometimes libido can be protective, like Dr. Jamie Johnson just said. If you have high blood pressure, you have all the stroke parameters, and you have a high libido, that's a very fast way to go out if you have high libido. But nature has a way of keeping some of these things down, and so you don't get anything like that. But on that note, again, I want to now call on our other panelists, Dr. Memuna Kadiri, to give some advice. Thank you.
Dr. Johnson has said the ball already rolling, so we all have to stand. And in our profession, like lawyers, you have to respect our elders. So Dr. Johnson is, like you say, he raised his hand, he's 55 years of age. I haven't reached there, so I still dove my heart for my senior colleague. But yes, before I start, when I was sitting on the other side with my other co-panelist, Cherise, and it was time for our panel discussion, I saw quite a number of people leaving, and I told myself, I know a lot of times when I go for seminars, when it comes to health and wellness, people are not really interested. They don't want to, what do they want to tell me? So we are not trying to reinvent the wheel as we are here today. We are trying to remind you of those little things you take for granted that you don't think they are important, but they holistically, they impact on your health and wellness every day. So I'm trying to play like the devil's advocate today because my own specialty is the area a lot of people do not really want to talk about. I'm like the DHL parcel that comes beautifully wrapped, but nobody wants to see the work that has been done behind the scene. So I want to just quickly ask a question. Who knows about mental health? Mental health. Okay, like 20% of my audience, mental illness. But when I said mental health, what came to your mind? I'm going to answer for you because this is what I encounter on a daily basis. The moment I mentioned mental, there was that signal that went off. Who is mad here? Nobody is mad. So I myself standing here, a lot of times I'm being stigmatized even by my friends, family members, because my friends don't call me my doctor, because they believe that if they have to see Dr. Kadri, that means there's something wrong somewhere. A knot is losing, so they rather call me my friend. So I just want to educate us. I want to let everyone here in this hall know that your mental health is as important as your physical health, if not more important. Very, very, very important and essential to your well-being. Reasons being that if you do not take your mental health very important, the moment a problem comes up, then everything you've ever worked for, and I keep saying, what will it profit you if you work from January 1st, from beginning of the year, and December 31st, everything gobs down on a health challenge? Everything. That means you've worked so hard, you didn't even enjoy your money. That means you have just wasted the whole year running helter-skelter, and then you didn't come up with anything because you had a health challenge you thought you could postpone. And that is what mental health comes all, in a package. That is what it is. But I like everyone to understand that when you hear mental health, it's not that you have a mental illness. It just means that it's just as you have your physical illness, mental and physical health. But mental illness, what it means that if I bring 4 people, so there are 4 people, yeah, good. I have 4 lovely panelists with my co-chair. A senior advocate, I'm sorry, sir, but I just have to say, he's a senior advocate, so I wouldn't want to say anything that would make him take the law against me. But this is statistics. Worldwide, according to the World Health Organization, including Nigeria, 1 out of these 4 people sitting down here will have a mental illness in his lifetime. So look at yourself. So stop putting yourself... I want to tell you where you are now. Count the 3 people beside you. He's trying to get up from his seat. No, you can't escape this. No, but that is the statistics. And Nigeria is not excluded from these statistics. It means that if you are excluded out of the 4, 3 of your friends, that means 1. In their lifetime does not mean now. And we know, yes, the news, the information we are getting recently is that we are coming out of recession. The truth is that when there's an economic depression, a lot of times, there's an increase in psychological depression. And when you look at the 2 words, recession, depression, Ishon is common. And I will give you a mnemonics, a breakdown for what this Ishon means. The first E there is experimenting with drugs. Most times when you wake up on Saturday mornings or Sunday mornings, the roundabouts that they are breaking down, that you see cars are driven inside, some overboard, some climbing tree. In the corporate world now, we see a lot of binge drinking amongst the people sitting down here. And this binge drinking just means that people stress themselves Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they binge drink. They drink to stupor because they want to take away the stress. That is a bad coping strategy, which is not good. The first S there is sleeping disorder. Well, how many of us sleep 7 to 9 hours? 7 to 9 hours. Wow. Interesting. No, some people actually put up their hands that they sleep 7 to 9 hours. Congratulations. If you actually sleep 7 to 9 hours. But that is what the books have said. But we all know that most of us do not sleep 7 to 9 hours. But the truth about your sleeping pattern is that you are your own sleeping clock. You should know exactly, if you sleep 1 hour, do you wake up refreshed? If you sleep 2 hours, you actually wake up refreshed. There is car naps. There is office nap. Some offices now do have a room, and that is what I will encourage the law practice to really do. Have a place that people can actually sleep. This clapping tells me something is wrong somewhere. This clapping tells me most of the law firms do not practice this. So please take this as a very big advice, because in recession there's a lot of downsizing, round-sizing, whatever sizing, and the few people you have as employees, you want to maximize their potentials and boost productivity. So do everything humanly possible to make them productive in the workplace. And having a place where they can rest is very essential. Just the way some banks are having little small crutches and all that. It goes beyond going for annually medical checks. It goes beyond the freebies and the welfare packages. The Employee Assistance Program is a program designed to have workplace mental health in your work environment. That doesn't mean that you people are mad. That doesn't mean that you people are going to go mad. That just means that it's protecting your emotional well-being for you to be more productive. So your return on investment at the end of the year after tax, everybody smiles home. And that is why what mental health is really all about. Just having that one external person out there who, if your staff are having challenges, they can call. And that call is confidential. And it's ethical for that therapist to keep your secret even after your demise. And somebody that you can speak with that won't be judgmental, that will not criticize you, that will not use your words against you, and will not tell you that you started again because you are not taking your drug that you are behaving this way. Because in the workplace, trust is an issue. It's a competitive environment where people will not want to discuss their challenges. They rather bottle up, internalize their problems, and at the end of the day, somebody is bringing a gun and gunning down 10 members of the organization. And you think that is only in America. It's coming down here. We need to know that it's coming down here, where people will. So the law at that point in time, we ask, where does this person have a folder? Has it ever been seen by a psychiatrist? And they will say no. And of course, you are the lawyers. That means that person can't escape it. So please, our mental health is essential. And if you know the real definition of mental health, we will all go home and tell ourselves, please, let's protect our mental health. So I'm going to round up my session and tell you the real meaning of mental health. And you should answer these questions on your own. Don't tell me the answer. Just answer it truthfully. So according to the World Health Organization, it defines mental health as, number one, ability for you to realize your potentials in life. So how many of us have realized our potentials? Being a lawyer does not mean that you want to be a lawyer. Maybe that your dad or your mom or your parents forced you to be a lawyer. So are you really enjoying the fact that you're a lawyer? Speak for yourself. So ability to realize your potentials in life, number one. The second aspect of what mental health is ability to deal with the day-to-day stressors of life. The day-to-day hassles of life. How many of us have the ability to deal with the day-to-day stressors of life? Thirdly, is the ability to work productively and fruitfully. Are we really working productively or suboptimally? A lot of us are following the current trend, working 10%, this 20%, that 30%, that 40%. That at the end of the day, you haven't really realized what you're doing. So you are working suboptimally, and then productively, you haven't realized your goal. If I should ask this simple question amongst us, then, who had to-do list before stepping out from his or her house this morning? Quite a number of us did not have. Okay, let's just ask, who had to-do list? So how will you validate you've achieved something today at the end of the day? It's a good time. Okay, coming for the conference is one of it, and I'm sure you have other things you wanted to also achieve. So by the end of the day, when you look at, I had 10 things on my list, and I was able to do 4 or 5. You tap yourself on the back. I did 5 things out of my 10 list. I tried. But if you don't, you just say, I attended the conference at Eco Hotel and Suite. And so what? What did that really give me? Okay, I listened to 1 or 2 things. You may not even be happy if that was the only achievement you did. So to-do list is one of the major things you can use in dealing with stress. And lastly, out of the definition of what mental health really speaks about is ability to give back to the society. You don't have to be 60 years and above like some of my colleagues here to give back. Voluntary work, community service is part of it. So ability for you to give back to the society is very key. So you can imagine the beautiful definition of mental health. So it's not synonymous with mental illness, which means 1 out of every 4 Nigerians will have a mental illness in a lifetime. And the commonest mental health disorder we have now is depression. And 1 out of every 5 Nigerians is currently depressed. And we are dealing with it. It's right here. So when you see the obituary and then they say, oh, this person died peacefully in his sleep, you know, it may not really be, but of course nobody will come out and say my father committed suicide. The daughters will never see a man to marry. And then of course the sons will be told that don't marry in that family because the father committed suicide. Suicide is on the increase. Don't look at it as it's very far away. Just your next door neighbor may be the person suffering from this. So with this, the panel is going to open afterwards, and of course we'll answer questions, but answer these questions by yourself, knowing what mental health really is, and taking it, protecting it, owning it, and making sure that it's as important to you as your physical health. So the way you go for your medical checks, hypertension, diabetes, and all that, you can actually check how mentally stable you are. We'll discuss that during the panel. Thank you.
Thank you. We had to let Dr. Kadiri go on for quite a while because according to the Lagos State Ministry of Health, at any point in time, about 40% of people in Lagos are suffering from depression. And that's a form of mental illness. And it, of course, manifests in the way we drive, the way we interact on the road, and a lot of other things. So now you understand what we mean by the deliberateness in wellness. It takes initiative, personal initiative. On that note, I'll call on Shasir Ijewere, who's a nutritionist. She's going to talk to us about things we need to know. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cherise Ijewere. I'm a Jamaican married to a Nigerian. And so I want us to all stand up so that we set the example, we set the tone from today. Let's all stand up. We're going to just stretch. Do a small stretch. Put your hands all the way, yes, all the way in the air. Okay, touch your toes. Okay, come back up. Take your right hand and put on your left shoulder. And then take your left hand and hold your right hand. For those of you who don't stretch every day, take your left hand and put on your right shoulder and then hold your right hand. Is it? No. Okay, so that just means we need to stretch more. One more exercise. Now keep your legs, keep your feet together and look straight ahead. And I want you to tilt your head down to your feet. For those of you who cannot see your feet, that means you know there's something in the way. Okay. All right, have a seat. You can all sit down. Okay. So I think in general, we all know about healthy eating. I won't spend too much time. I think in general, we all know about healthy eating, but how much attention are we paying to our food, to what goes in our body? Are we being mindful eaters? Are we eating with intention? Remember, we only have one body. Are we keeping to the 5 a day? I think with our stress in Nigeria, we really need 7 a day. And 7 a day means either 4 fruit, 3 vegetables, or 4 vegetables, 3 fruit. Are we really doing that daily? Are we planning ahead? Are we planning our meals? Are we balancing our diet? Are we reading our labels? I know that we have lunch in a few minutes, and what I see on the table already is a little alarming. So I won't spoil it for you, but make sure you read your ingredients so that you know what you're putting in your body. All the soft drinks that are there, how many cubes of sugar. It's not just doing it now, but what are we doing later on? Are we balancing it out with our water intake, with our exercise? Truly, we have one body and we need to pay attention to our body. Health is by choice, not by chance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sashir. Now, we've been told, eat well and reasonably, exercise, sleep, if you can get it. If you can't, try to get it. Because like we've heard from Dr. Kadri, you need, actually, we all need at least 6 hours of sleep every day. And I know many people don't do more than 4 hours. But it adds up, and then it causes problems that, manifest in other ways. Weight gain, diabetes, hypertension, stroke factors, and things like that. We will still talk a bit more when we answer questions. On this note, I'll call on one of yours, Mr. Osaro Egobamie, SAN, who will now give some legal perspectives.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'm not sure what qualifies me to speak on this subject. When Olu asked me to do it, I thought, well, because he knows the family well, my younger brother competes in size with him, and there's always a competition as to how many wraps of pounded yam they finish. Again, maybe because he also knew I ran a catering outfit for 4 years, from 1991 to 94. I took time off practice, of course, to the annoyance of my father. And I used to eat everything. Maybe that's why he called me. But I got more worried this afternoon. I knew I was sitting with a cardiologist and then a nutritionist. I was only introduced for the first time to the psychiatrist right outside. And I thought I'd be sharing the same platform with a psychiatrist. I hope Olu did not think I had a problem. But I thought, how do I address the audience? I can only share my personal experience with you, and I think that's the best way to communicate the importance of wellness. As I said, I used to run a catering outfit. After I'd qualified from practice, it was a very successful one. We did pastries, we supplied aircraft. We ate as much as we sold. So in the family, we're big, very big. And then in 1994, I decided to go into practice. Full-time practice, so there was no question of combining catering with practice. When we set up in 1997, Remy and I, partners, we decided we wanted to make a success of practice. So we worked round the clock. And I meant round the clock. We go to bed at 12, by 2, 3, you're up. But then we were admitted separately in the hospital maybe 3 times a month. And it was always malaria or typhoid. One day I said to the doctor, what can I do so that I don't have this? Because I was embarrassed. I would take my laptop to the hospital, I'll be admitted and I'll be working. No one knows I'm in the hospital except when I'm out, and they knock me out completely, and there was always drips, and they always give you so many drugs. I don't know why they do that, because sometimes I think I don't need it. But anyway, the doctor said to me, do you take alcohol? I said, every night. Do you take carbs, rice, and that's what I take to go to bed? Do you take beef? I said, of course. What about fizzy drinks? I don't take water. He said to me, you know what? You'll have to stop all those things. I wasn't that ill, but I thought this is a joker. My stout at night, after a heavy day's work, that's what I used to take at night. And it was so refreshing. It was cold. You know, when you take a cold bottle of stout, you start reading the inscriptions. I don't know if those of you... you know, and I thought this doctor is a joker, you know. But you know, as I saw my mom with arthritis and weight and all that, I started saying, let me try it. And the first time I didn't take any stout to go to bed, and we used to work so hard, I felt better waking up in the morning. And then I thought, let me cut out the pastry, so I changed it to fruits in the morning and biscuits. But there was one thing I wasn't doing, exercise. And I said, let me try it. It was very difficult. I saw what you tried to let us do. It was very difficult. But I attempted it. I think the turning point for me came when I went to, we went to India for a seminar. I think 21 of us from the law firm. And the client offered to give us free medical health, full body check. I'd never seen anything like it in my life. I was very worried because there were all sorts of gadgets, and there was this young, pretty girl taking me around. Young girl, she probably in her 20s. And she saw the fear in my face. And she said, don't worry too much. In medicine, we've now got to the point where if we discover anything early enough, we can treat it. It was very comforting, and it gave me a clean bill of health. But what was interesting was that this offer, free medical check, was offered to everyone that went on that trip. 21 lawyers, I think we were. No one else took advantage of it. Everybody went to the Taj Mahal, tourist attraction. I called my wife. I called Kunle. Is Kunle here? And I said to Kunle, you must come for this. This is fantastic. It was free because it was on a Saturday, but I think he had to pay for it. The next time we went to India, I was 48. And I was a bit more confident. We did the checks again. And I do it in Nigeria, but not as rigorous. And they wrote something on my certificate, which I'll share with you. It said, and there's a way they describe it. They say, a man of 48 years old came in for a check, and he claims that he does quite a lot of exercise, but whatever he does, he should just continue. So I continued in my exercise. I became very passionate about it. But on that trip, I insisted that all my colleagues must take advantage of the offer. At this time, we had to pay something minimal. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that take advantage. It's all around you. You don't have to be very ill before you take a medical examination. But exercise makes me very happy. I'm full of life. Everything is well, no problem. And I just tell you, I will share with you what I do every other morning.
Ladies and gentlemen, now you see what deliberate wellness means. And at any point in time, he could actually put his 2 feet together, stand up and look down, and he will see his toes. So it's a good exercise to try. Don't try to do 50. Start with 5, and then progress to 10 and 20, whatever. He's been doing it for a while. So just the same way, when you do exercise, don't go jogging with people who have been jogging all their lives, or else you'll end up needing an ambulance to take you out of the place. In fact, I tell people, even fast walking for 20 minutes 3 times a week is a good beginning. And how many people do up to that? 20 minutes of fast walking 3 times a week. You see, just about less than 5% of this audience. So that shows that we are underperforming. And to be able to get to the level of, that means a lot of work has to be done. Now, we deliberately made sure that there were not going to be slides and all that, so that we can get the audience to ask questions and we can then interact. So, over to the audience. Oh, okay. Yeah, I understand some questions have been sent over by email. One, how to recognize and reduce stress in the workplace. 2, what are the health risks associated with a sedentary lifestyle? 3, how to incorporate exercise and healthy eating into a busy work schedule. 4, tips for dealing with depression in the work environment. I will start with the last one and ask Dr. Kadi to put in a word on that. On how to deal with stress.
Okay. Tips on how to manage depression in the workplace. The first thing is ability for you to even realize that this is depression. But sadly, not everyone who is going through depression will realize that he or she is depressed. So the first thing is knowing what depression is and the symptoms of, if I'm depressed, what it is. We all are maybe sad for one reason or the other, but sadness is not depression. It's one of the symptoms of depression, and it has to be ongoing for at least minimum of 2 weeks. So sadness for a day or two, please don't use the word, and a lot of us use the word wrongly. When you are not happy, you just tell yourself, oh, I'm depressed. And then you tell your friend you are depressed, or you speak to yourself you are depressed. Please, you are not actually depressed. Depression is a serious mental health condition. So it's not just a pretty word you can just throw around. It's a medical condition that needs proper treatment. So sadness for minimum of 2 days, 2 weeks rather. Loss of interest in things ordinarily you love to do. Like for the men, loves to watch Premier League. All of a sudden you don't even watch it. You don't even pick up the remote to even put on the TV. And it's also minimum of 2 weeks. And then low energy level, meaning you get up in the morning, you don't want to do anything, or you don't have energy to do anything, which is also a minimum of 2 weeks. So everything I'm saying as a symptom must be ongoing for at least minimum of 2 weeks. These are the 3 major symptoms. But we have numerous symptoms that make up depression. Not eating or overeating. So your friend may be looking all well, fresh and robust, and is telling you he's stressed or is not feeling well. And you say, but you are looking fat now. What's your problem? The person may be doing what we call emotional eating, and that may be a symptom of depression. So not sleeping or oversleeping. Some people want to sleep and sleep the problems away. You can't wish depression away, neither can you will it away. You have to deal with it. So, and then other symptoms that comes with it, not concentrating, poor concentration. Some may get to the extent of you start hearing voices or seeing strange things. And then those voices can be very, very commanding and telling you jump over the bridge or kill yourself or kill a colleague and all that. That is why this person, I'm sure, must have asked this question. Sometimes it comes with feeling hopeless and worthless, and that is when people start feeling suicidal. They can either plan to commit suicide or they don't even plan at all. It's a snap, seconds away, and the person takes it to our own life. So it's not deliberately people just want to die. We love life. Nigerians are supposed to be happy people, but depression is a medical condition. When it comes, it's not because you want to be depressed. So it doesn't define you. It doesn't mean you are of weak character. It doesn't mean that you've committed an offense and the gods are after you, or it's a spiritual attack. No, it's just like hypertension, the way Dr. Johnson deals with people with hypertension, and it's just like diabetes, just like the way if you have a family member dealing with diabetes. So the different ways you can manage depression in the workplace is for you to even realize, are you going through any of these symptoms? And if the person is going through it, but you as a colleague knows, and this person is in denial or doesn't even realize it, that is when you come in to help that individual. talk to the person nicely. That is why we have 2 ears. So listen more and 1 mouth, talk less. So when you listen to the person will be able to talk to you. So help that person. So if you know you have depression, you can actually seek for help. Please, not all depressive cases must be medicated. A lot of us have that wrong notion that because you have depression, they must give you that blue, yellow, brown pills. No. The first line of management of depression is counseling and therapy. And that is why it's so sad we are overburdening our pastors and malams, forgetting that they are human beings. So we run to them to tell them, ask them for counseling. So they do a lot of counseling. Don't forget Pastor Kunle is Kunle before he became Pastor Kunle. So don't overwork him. You can do some self-help tips like the sleeping. Sleep deliberately and consciously, take hold of your lifestyle. So sleep adequately, eat well, do adequate exercise, learn to say no. I know it's difficult. Learn to say no. Even in your working environment, your senior colleague gives you a job, you can't stand in front of him and say, no, I'm not going to do it. You take it and find people that can help you do it. Competition is the new, I tell people that collaboration is the new competition. Collaborate, help to ask somebody to help you, seek for that help from that individual. So in the workplace, it's really difficult in knowing how you can manage depression, but the first rule of thumb is knowing you are even going through depression. And then seek for help. Help is available. And the good news about depression that it is treatable, just like hypertension and diabetes.
Okay, I think Cherise has already answered one question about how do you complete exercise in work. And you can see, I think one rule of thumb, for whatever age you are, do those press-ups every day before you go to work. So people like me who are 60, it will take us about an hour to get through the 60 push-ups. But let Cherise say a word or two about that.
So you have a busy schedule. So some ways to help in your busy schedule: being mindful and deliberate, as Dr. Kadiri said. Plan ahead. You can have your water bottles in the office. You can make smoothies in the morning. Take it for breakfast. Have a pedometer. How many of you have a pedometer? Okay, see, look at the doctors up here who also have the pedometers. So the pedometer, you want to make sure you get your 10,000 steps in per day. Being mindful in your eating, healthy snacks. Those of you who like to eat ground nuts and cashew nuts, instead of that, a healthier alternative would be things like tiger nuts. Make sure that you have your fruits at the office, and maybe partner with a colleague with the healthy eating, so that you have a partner.
Okay, work stress at the workplace. There's certain devices that Remy and I introduced into the work very early. When we started growing, the office became impersonal. So you have many lawyers coming in and going out. So every morning, the young lawyers, and regardless of where you're coming from, must go around and say morning to everybody. But we also must practice it. So a partner comes in as is going, and you sometimes it takes you almost 20 minutes to get to your desk because you're saying hello to everybody. It just reduces the stress. You may have worked up till 12. I start very early. Some of my colleagues start very early. Sometimes 6:30, 7 we're there. And you can just imagine all the pressure you're coming from home, and there's so much pressure from home, there's pressure from work, and in the morning, the first person you see, you just walk past. It's traditional, but it works, because what it does, because you are forced to say morning and you don't, we know that there's a problem. So maybe during the day, somebody will ask you, I hope nothing is wrong. What I did here, I test my colleagues, my younger colleagues all the time. So I do it in my office. I mean, it's not, and I say to them, can you do 40? And we keep increasing the bar. When we go out and we're in Abuja walking, or even in Lagos, when we get to the office, I can tell the driver, drop me, and we walk. And sometimes, I'm never late for a meeting in Lagos. What that means is, if I get to traffic and I have my driver, we get out of the car, we're working 20, 30 minutes. Now, when you're wearing your suit, you're sweating, but it doesn't really matter. I have about 3-4 handkerchiefs on me. So I test my younger colleagues, but I find that a lot of them are very unfit. So because I do this, some of them have taken it up. I have partners who are very fit. Unfortunately, we were thinking of converting the refectory to a gym. They opened a gym opposite. So you have colleagues who come in the morning and we're competing. How many kilometers did you do this morning? Sometimes I do 7, sometimes I do 10. So through that means there are other things we're talking about other than work, because I work around the clock. Some of my colleagues think I drive them too hard. But what it means is I take time out to talk about sports. And then I also try and engage commercially. I say to them, look, why don't we think of developing sports law? The regulations are very weak. Medical law, the same thing. So we try and transform from just exercise to have a commercial undertone to what we're doing, which makes people a little bit more interested. So different means we try to use to work to deal with stress in the office. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we'll take some questions from the audience. Yeah, there's a lady there. Yeah.
Good day, everyone. My question is connecting the health and wellness to legal practice. As a young lawyer, a lot is expected of you. You are expected to work like almost round the clock. Your seniors will tell you, sorry, my question is directed to the Leonard Silk himself. They'll tell you, oh, during my time, when you close from work, you don't sleep. You still have to take an extra time to do some research, engage in other things. And you have the zeal, the passion to distinguish yourself. How do you combine these two? I personally enjoy exercising, but I found out that lately I have not been able to balance up the two because there's been so much for me to do. I start work early, I close late, and when I get back home, I really want to cover up some things, resume early again. I will find out that my sports kit is in my boot, and it's been there for weeks without me going to the gym and all that. So I just want to get an advice from you. How do I make sure that I sustain, the reasonable expectation that is expected from me, from my senior, or deliver properly at the workplace, and at the same time, sustain a healthy lifestyle? Thank you.
We'll take 4 questions and then panelists.
First of all, I'm not doing any press-ups today. So, maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow. But for those of us who were part of the planning of this conference, this was an extremely, extremely important session. If for nothing else, we lost a number of colleagues in the course of the year. Maybe I will take the opportunity to remember our dear senior, Deji Shashegbon, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. I was saying that very important session, if for nothing else, we lost a couple of colleagues in the course of the year. We remember our dear senior, Deji Shashegbon, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. And, but also because I was particularly concerned about mental health. And Dr. Gadiri knows that I've engaged with her on a number of occasions on the issue of mental health. And then also when I was looking at the panel, I just realized I'm in trouble. My psychiatrist is there, my cardiologist is there, the nutritionist I run away from is there. But I do my best. Sherry is right. And I want to give a personal testimony. Because as Dr. Kadiri knows, I just came out of a horrible bout of depression. And like she said, you look at Olu and say, you can't be depressed, Olu, come on. But I was terribly, terribly, terribly depressed. And that's what really got me worried. That how many people are going through what I was going through. I didn't want to do anything. Like she said, the things that interested me no longer. If you came into my bedroom and you turned on the light, you were offending me. And I couldn't put my finger on it to say, okay, what exactly happened? Where did this happen? You know, there were times when I was physically unwell. Maybe that was why, because I got so worried about my physical state of health. And then that kind of like moved me to psychological. I became unwell mentally. One day I was going home and Chico, the radio on-air personality, was on radio, and he was talking about depression, and he was ticking off all the boxes. And oh boy, everyone, I was ticking along with him. Then I called Dr. Kadiri. I said, there's a problem. And it's not, you can't touch it, it's not tangible. But like she said, it's not every depression that you medicate, you go and take drugs or pills and all that. You need to work on it. And you can, I personally, because I'm quite spiritually inclined, even if you don't believe, I'm very in touch with my spiritual side. I told Dr. Kadiri, I said, I'm going to pray myself out of this. And it worked. And you know, a couple of months or maybe months later, it was as if all the lights came back on. You know? But I don't know how many people have been so fortunate. I don't know how many people have been so lucky. So I was engaging her constantly. Like, how many people are going through this? You know, in Warri, they say all lizards lie down, they don't know the one when belly they pain. You know, so people are just walking around and we don't know. And I assure you, because of the kind of person I am, my friends did not believe. It's not possible, you cannot be depressed. But I was dying inside. But so I think it's important, and I'm very glad that we came here today. I was particularly concerned about, I mean, Dr. Johnson knows that there are other issues I deal with, but this is one that I thought we should mention, and I'm very happy, I'm relieved, I'm glad that I came out of it, and I'm hoping that others who may be going through the same thing will seek help. Because we can't have the hang up of, oh, there's stigmatization, or oh, the Gotisa I don't craze. You know, there are more important things than that. So I do hope that there's somebody listening that who, you know, if you are going through those kind of issues, you need to talk to somebody. I know how my conversations with Dr. Kadiri helped me to know that, okay, it wasn't easy because it was a road I had to walk myself pretty much, you know, but she gave me the roadmap. Say, okay, do this, just do this. And one day I just woke up, I was like, hey, let me go to Terraculture for lunch, you know.
There's someone, a hand in the middle row, a lady, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chika. I said good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chika. All right. I was going to, extend on what the first speaker said. When I started working, the law firm I worked in, there's this attitudinal change I feel the senior partners or associates in law firm need to inculcate. Because they say, you can't go home until your partner has gone home, or you can't go home until your superior in the office has gone home. And then I used to go home around 10 p.m. and I could not understand it. And some people, the work environment might be too choking. So my question is there something we can do that law firms can start inculcating? It's not fair for people to wake up in the morning, they leave their houses around 4, they get to the office, and then they go home around 10, and then they get 2 or 3 hours of sleep. They are back to the office the next day. It's personally one of the reasons I left law firm practice as a person. I'm not working there because I didn't like that attitude. There has to be something. Then what the lady said about having maybe like somewhere you can sleep, catch a nap, is there something law firms can do about that? Because sometimes you just want to take 1 hour rest. Maybe I used to have migraines then, because I'll stay at the screen 24/7, and next thing I'm having serious migraines. I get home, I don't sleep well. Is there something law firms or senior associates can do about this? Not just to ask me how I will balance it. Something has to be done from the top. Thank you.
There's someone in front here on this side. Okay. We have to take it. Yes.
Good afternoon, Chairman. My name is Dennis Agbaga. I'm from Warri. And I came from a very litigious place. I noticed that practicing lawyers, they take their matters too serious. They do their matters with all seriousness, and we hate losing our cases. And most time, I was in that situation before, till I learned my lesson. I hate losing any case. And when it's time for judgment, my heart will be palpitating. Even if I've done my very best, written my written addresses, my briefs, I will try to be reading the mind of the judge, the reasoning, the findings, and what will be the conclusion. But I read a book by an Indian author. He said, trivialize all judgments that you go to court to take, because there will be many more judgments for you to practice long, for you to be long in legal practice. Because if you have a cardiac arrest, you will no longer be able to practice. And the work, dead lawyers don't work, and the work will go on. And he also provided a solution. He said, get a bicycle. When you close from office, ride a bicycle around your neighborhood and free yourself from the office work. And that has helped me so much. And I really want to recommend it. These days, whether I lose or win case, I don't bother. I go to Court of Appeal and I go to Supreme Court. Thank you.
Thank you. We can't take. Where? I understand someone is standing. I can see I have a glare. Okay, I think we should just round it up. You see, when we talk about, I'm so sorry. Is it a question or a comment?
Just a comment, just a brief comment. Afternoon, everybody. It's actually interesting here, and my comment is just basically this: the discourse is dead lawyers don't work, but I want to expand it a little, and that will help us, a long way. Sound lawyers with dying partners or spouses can't work. I met my wife many years ago, just dragged me to Lut for checkup. I wasn't sick, but she just felt like since her older sister dragged the husband for checkup, I should also go. And then I got there, and then we met a young doctor who introduced himself as a family physician. And I said, I know all aspects of medical practice, which is a family medicine as it were. And he said, now I can see before me 2 folders, and I can see that both of you are lawyers. Do you mind if I see you along with your wife? I said, I'm entitled to my privacy. He said, you see the beauty of family medicine. And unknown to me, he just stepped out, went to the other room, called my wife and asked her the same thing. And then he brought us together in there. Young guy that feeling from, a Nigerian university. And he said to my wife, he said, the first doctor God made for this man is you. I'm going to ask him 30 questions. If he misses on any one or he does not answer appropriately, you will remind me. And then he went on with those questions. And when he finished, he asked my wife, is there anyone in me? I said, yes. One, there was a time we were on 3rd Mainland Bridge, and he just said, I felt pain in my heart, and then he packed. He said he didn't mention that. I said, that was 2 years ago. And the guy said, that's relevant. And then he asked any other thing. He said, because I come from a medical background, my brother who is a professor has taught us, the ladies, that look out for these signs in your men, and you men, look out for these signs in your ladies. And I said, of recent, I would tiptoe and follow him in the morning, or early in the, sometime in the night when he wants to go wee-wee. And the thing doesn't flow like it used to flow. And I asked her, so you tiptoe to follow me. What does that mean? And the doctor asked me one question. I was 42 then, 10 years ago. He said, what's your prostate status? And I said, what's prostate? At 42, I haven't done one before. And he said, okay, we're going to run that test. What am I bringing this into is that I learned a lot of things that day, not to take not only my own health, but my partner's, my wife's health, and even the children's health. Because he said one thing, he said the concept of family medicine is that whatever unsettles one member unsettles the entire family. And a few years, a few months thereafter, I checked on the same guy, and then he said, please put a call through to your wife. I want to tell her something. And I said, hope no problem. He said, no problem. And then I called my wife, and he said to me, madam, the day you came here, you met, your husband was greeting one fellow that I said is a senior colleague. He said, I'm thanking you for bringing him early, because that senior colleague didn't come early. He just died of prostate cancer. Because he didn't come early. At least you brought your own early, So this in itself is so critical that we must understand that if we want to practice law and continue to practice and be in good health, it goes even beyond us. Somebody asked me in Court of Appeal 15 years ago and said, if you lose your sight, what will become of your practice? And I thought that was a question from the pit of hell. But I've come across lawyers who have lost their sight and everything. So let's just keep thinking and continue to be in good health. God help us.
Thank you very much. Importantly, I think many of the interventions were comments, so we really don't have to answer on the panel here.
The young lady who asked the question
about workplace. Okay, that's good. Okay.
I think there was a young lady who asked about how you cope with long hours and not going to the gym. Get a skipping rope and go out there and do 10, 15, 20 minutes. Look, I travel around the world and I have a canvas everywhere I settle. So in Benin, Lagos, Abuja, Dubai, London, I have a canvas. So just find methods. If you can't keep a gym, I tried with a gym. But I was going out of the house too early. I would have started work at 3 a.m. and I would leave my house at 5:30. I won't see my kids. I stopped it and I started running earlier than normal so that I could meet my kids. Work something out into your skin. Okay?
Okay, I'm going to make a comment I thought I'd never make in my life. I have learned something here from a lot. In my practice, I said I'm going to say something I never thought I'd say. I have learned something from my learned colleague here, the lawyer. In our hospital, me and my partner have been debating what we should use one room for that we didn't know what to do. We're talking conference room, extra hospital bed, but we're going to make it a gym.
On that note, we are going to close the panel with just two takeaway messages again that I have. One, daily within my offices, I do 3 to 4 miles, just walking around from desk to desk. So there are some things that are possible. Get your pedometer and watch it. Just make it a habit to walk around your office space. 2, please note that every bottle of fizzy drink you take contains at least 8 cubes of sugar. Most people don't realize that. If you have to take 8 cubes of sugar in a soft drink, then you have to balance that with whatever else you take. You don't take 1 bottle of soft drink, then 10 slices of bread, and 1 big plate of rice. So I think we have all benefited from this session. I want to thank our august and distinguished members of the audience and the panel. Thank you.